Before we start this, I gotta let you know that there are Helen victims out there, both in North Carolina, Georgia, and even Tennessee, that could really use your help. So, if there are any local donations or places that are accepting donations that you can send to, please send it to them because they really could use your help. But in other news, I have not been covering Going Medieval for quite some time. I do not know why. At some point, I just stopped, despite the fact that I have been keeping myself up to date with Going Medieval every time they have an update. Did you know Going Medieval is basically like RimWorld, except it's 3D and it's medieval. Basically, you can have multiple stories. You can build you can build amazing castles. There are religions. There are like you have to manage people's happiness. You can tame animals. You can grow stuff. You can get new technology and that sort of thing. And they've been progressively updating it over time. And one of the things that I should have talked about is they added gates. You can have these amazing big castle gates built at your base. But I haven't covered any of that, and I must apologize. In any case, this is their recent experimental update. For those who don't know, they've added a prisoner system after they've added their gates and the like. I can show you it first. Now, for the gates, I mean. So, this is a simpler gates. They were talking about bugs that they had to fix. They kept breaking most of the castles because apparently there was a structural integrity problem every time the gates broke. And but these are basically how they look. They look amazing, by the way. Some of them look different over others. I don't really see any iron gates right now. I'm trying to find out if they have any. I don't see any. But in any case, that is not what we are concerned about right now. So, basically, they're telling you to disable mods if you have them for this update. So, prisoner system from now on, from time to time, once the raid is done and you end up victorious, the enemies may surrender. Surrendering is influenced by a couple of factors. Enemies that are walled off after being defeated will surrender. Enemies need to be below 80% HP to be eligible for surrender. Well, that's interesting. I don't really agree with that. Enemies that are in the Forbidden Zone map edges will never surrender. Never surrender. Never, never, never. Each faction has a surrender chance, but some factions will never surrender. The more prisoners and settlers you have, the less chance you have for the enemy to surrender. Well, that's pretty cool. This is actually a pretty cool prisoner system. There's not that many games that offer this. I mean, RimWorld, of course, had this one, but although I don't remember they had them surrender, I remember them just basically collapsing, and you can just take them prisoner, and supposedly either enslave them or convince them to join your settlement. When the enemies surrender, you will be greeted with a panel where you'll be able to choose who to turn into a prisoner. Once you select them, they will be in the surrender state for about 6 in-game hours before they try to escape. To turn them into prisoners, you will need a gaoler. Gaoler is a new job for settlers to prioritize. Essentially, it's the medieval expression for the jailer. Settlers for the gaoler will be escort prisoners, move prisoners to their cell and capture them when they are running away. Strip prisoners, prisoners marked with this order, will be approached by the gaoler and lose all their clothes and headwear. Prisoners will auto-equip other clothes if on stockpiles / wardrobes, chests in the cell. Release prisoners. Gaoler will take prisoners to the edge of the map and release them. This will result in a positive friendliness outcome with a prisoner's faction. Shackle prisoners. They'll take shackles and apply them to a prisoner. Shackles are needed for prisoners to go via caravan and to be turned into captive laborers. Releasing prisoners isn't functional yet. That's unfortunate. The prison cell. Captured prisoners will be taken to prison cells. Spare room can be turned into a prison cell by building a prison marker and prisoners stash within it. Prisoners will idle around and function within the prison cell. We plan to introduce an option where you choose which prisoner goes into which cell. This is not yet in the game. Captive laborer. Prisoners can be turned into captive laborers by putting shackles on them, and if you have a warden in your settlement. Captive laborers can only do 5 jobs: construct, mine, grow, harvest, and cut plants. These are mangled in the overview panels, a panel in the prisoners tab. Captive laborers can't be turned into settlers. Captive laborers will only work for in-game hours after the warden has spoken to them. And speaking of the warden, Warden is a new role akin to chaplain, druid, and bard, but with a different set of duties. Having the prison warden role present in your settlement will allow you to turn prisoners into captive laborers and or turn them into settlers via recruitment process. So this will probably only be useful with multiple prisoners, but I don't think I would want multiple prisoners myself, but it's good to LARP. It's a good way to LARP. So Warden will recruit prisoners as settlers if the prisoner is marked for recruitment. Warden will only do this in the role-appointed hours once a day. Recruitment process is similar to the taming/training process. Well, that's going to take a long time. The chances of recruitment increase with the mood of the prisoner as well as the speechcraft skill of the warden. Captive laborer can't be recruited. You will have to unmark them from captive laborers for the recruitment process to be available. If you choose to turn a prisoner, if you choose to turn a prisoner that isn't in the recruitment process into a captive laborer, the recruitment process will stop and slowly decline. Warden will manage captive laborers by switching their hour type to work type for 4 in-game hours after having a conversation with them. You can also sell/buy prisoners because we are introducing new merchant type. A new trader will appear from time to time and will barter by using prisoners. However, the merchant will never enter your settlement and will only stand on the edge of it. Using prisoners to trade will result in no friendliness modifiers with other factions because this merchant type does not belong to any of the game's faction. This merchant will only take coin and gold ingots for their prisoners. If you try to attack it, they'll immediately flee. When it comes to regular trading situations, negotiators will take prisoners of the same faction as barter. Merchants will purchase prisoners of the same faction. Prisoners can be taken via caravan to settlements. If you have a prisoner from one faction, you will not be able to improve the relation with that specific faction beyond neutral. Alternatively, you can punish prisoners because we are introducing hanging event. You can trigger a hanging event by constructing gallows and selecting it. Here's what you need to know. Any prisoner/captive laborer can be hanged. Hanging a prisoner results in the friendliest modifiers towards the faction of the hanged, as well as modifiers to the enemy of the factions of the hanged. The rest of the prisoners will get negative mood effectors if this happens. Some settlers with certain perks will be very happy to see someone hanged. Various new messages. They need to add guillotine. They need to add the guillotine. They need to add the guillotine. Anyway, various new messages and alerts will appear with the prisoner feature if prisoners are running away, if there are no prison cells, if there's no Gowler job, etc. No issue. A hanging event never ends, even when the event happens, leaving only the end event option when selecting gallows. The option works. Gates and buildings refactorings. We have new types of structures: gates, tailgates, and portcullises. Gates and portcullises can only be locked or opened. They will not automatically open the doors when the sellers get close to them. Because of this, we've added some new functionality to buildings. New buildings can have forbidden zones. This means we can add a forbidden zone around the structure that can't have any structures built, but humans and animals can move freely in that space. Gates have that in front and behind them because the gate opens a wider range. Doors and gates now have a broken state. If the HP gates and doors fall under 20%, the doors will be broken and fully traversable but not destroyed. They need to be repaired over 80% to be closed again. This is all possible thanks to the freshly refactored building system. Building refactoring is mostly under the hood stuff that you can't see, but it's beneficial for us because we can create new structure types easily and debug them almost effortlessly when needed. Building stability has been reworked for the ground up. It is much faster now and has a better logic to it. It should feel the same, so strange collapsing cases should be handled now. Ground voxel stability has been rewritten as well, but some issues with ground voxels randomly collapsing are still present in the existing settlements. The good news is that this will not occur in the newly created settlements. The new building system should be integrated just by loading your existing save. Some of the strange stuff will happen because of this, so heads up. Fuel buildings like torches might load as on 100% fuel. Windows and doors might load as open. Windows and doors marked for opening / closing / locking will load with no order on them. Buildings with less than max HP will magically repair themselves. And this is not the only refactoring we've done. Humanoid refactor. We have refactored the way humans in game work. This is done so we can turn any NPC into any other NPC, so a prisoner can become an enemy can become a settler can become an NPC, etc. This means that all NPCs have the same skills, perks, and attributes as settlers. Stuff will influence NPCs the same way it influences your settlers, like before. When it rained, your settlers would get debuffs for archery, but enemies would not. This is not the case anymore. Oh man. I didn't even realize that was the thing. That being said, here's the list of new things in the game. New structures: Woodgate, Ornate Gate, defensive structures, and the research window appears in the base building category. Woodgate Tall, Ornate Gate Tall, defensive structures 3, and research window appears in base building category. Portcullis, defensive structures 3, and the research window appears in the base building category. Gallows appears in the miscellaneous building category used for organizing hanging events. Prisoner cell marker used to turn a room into a prison cell. Prisoner's stash appear in the miscellaneous building category. Used to turn a room into a prison cell to feed prisoners and get them beverages if you want. Warden's desk, furniture 4, and the research window. Cellar that is going to be the warden needs to have this desk in their room. Some of you are probably disappointed by the lack of drawbridges, but do not worry, this will come later. Right now, the biggest problem with the logic of drawbridges are enemies and their way of targeting entry points. But we'll write about that in one of our talks when we get closer to it. Pinky promise. New item: shackles. Create the blacksmith forge. Use shackles for prisoners in order to take the via caravan. Also needed stop known issues. If your sellers are experiencing weird animations with some actions, be sure to turn off VSync and cap the game's FPS in the game's caption. Cap it to 60 FPS. If the issue persists, cap it at 30. Opening almanac links does not work for the building selection UI. Research available message does not appear until you reload the game. Assigned pets don't sleep with the owners. Some items are missing icons and localization values. Tooltip is missing with hovering over perks, backgrounds, and pseudonyms when trying to add new ones in advanced character customization. Some items and resources are missing localization values and icons in the stockpile management UI. Player-triggered events don't have sound effects. Settlers will not refuel torches if there is no floor/ground beneath them. Settlers will not choose the closest production building if there are more of the same type, but the one that has a production set first in the global list of productions. And that'll be all for the update notes. New patches and improvements will be deployed accordingly. As always, use F10 and/or the experimental bug subforum for reporting experimental issues. If you want more dynamic / direct communications, head over to our Discord server. Even though we might not reply, we are reading everything. Thank you. And that's about it for Going Medieval. I apologize for not covering Going Medieval for some time. I don't know why I haven't, but if you're interested in learning more news about Going Medieval, please leave a like, subscribe, and a follow, and I will see you guys next time. Also, before I leave, a stream, so if you guys could come over and check my streams out, that would be very appreciative. And that's about it. Thank you guys for watching, and good day.